point, I don't know if you probably can't see it, those windows are busted open. That is, it's definitely abandoned by 2009. Yeah, so this is what happens in Detroit, and I'm sure many other places we are facing this. Hi, yeah, sorry.
Was the house tore down by the city of Detroit, or did the house get burned down? How did it end up done?
It's a great question, and I can't answer it because we didn't have the data. Yeah, so how do I understand it diagnosing the changes that we're seeing in the community? If I don't have consistent observations over time, I can't answer it, which is sad. Yeah.
And can you interface the residents' photographs with Google Earth?
So these are actually from the Google Earth history timeline.
So if we zoomed out and looked out from above, is this just this part of the bluff, or is it block by block by block?
So it's a different story in different places across Detroit. It really does depend. This is from an area that has largely eroded in the last five years. So there are multiple blocks where this has happened. This is going to be pure speculation, which I should not be doing as a data person, but my husband is a Detroit firefighter, so I feel like I'm sort of almost qualified to speak about it. When you start having multiple abandoned places in one area, and then you have a fire, if you still have residents left, you have a fire across the street, then down the block, then down the block from that, who wants to stay in that neighborhood anymore? So if you can get out, you do get out, and then those places tend to go up. And probably just like Milwaukee, we have, so because our abandoned housing issue is so big, and because we face delightfully brutal winters, we get a lot of people who end up in those vacant homes for the winter, and they don't have water, electricity, and gas hooked up to them because they've been abandoned. So people will use like propane heaters or start fires inside the homes, and then you run the risk. These are old homes that haven't been well maintained. You run the risk of having a fire, which happens with some frequency. All right, so one more time. Okay, so we have the 09 data. We got permission to go out and collect this 2014 data. We decided to collect the same information again, so we'd have 2 points in time, even if it's not perfect and I can't tell you all of what happened in those intervening years. I can at least start to get some similar observations. And we added a couple of questions, a little bit more rounded out around parking lots because we didn't capture that the first time. We had to add in a second thing, forgot to mention, we did a comprehensive parcel survey in 2014 as compared to the residential parcel survey in 2009. So now we had industrial and commercial properties in there as well, and we can start to see commercial vacancy and how we measure that in Detroit. I did forget to mention that in 09 we did 350,000 parcels on paper, so I can empathize. It took us months to data enter and quality control all of those data. It was a nightmare. That's actually one of the real sheets used in another community group, a small area in Detroit back in 2013, but our 2009 survey looked exactly like this. And again, data entering all of that. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sure. So the one with all the check marks is housing structure. The next one over is lot is improved or lot is unimproved. The next one over is vacant, yes, no. And then the next one is VOD, which stands for us for vacant, open, and dangerous. We also have condition. These properties, so this is actually a decent street. These are all in good condition. Fire damage, you just check it if it's fire damaged. And then if it's a vacant lot, we have illegal dumping or environmental hazard columns as well. Yeah. So in the 2009 survey, it was 9 teams of 3 people, which is probably why it took so long, and one of those was a resident, and 2 of them were actually U of M, University of Michigan grad students going out and collecting the data together. In 2014, different story, we brought together, let's see, so for the initial survey, when we fanned out across the field, 35 working days to collect data on 380,000 parcels. yay, we have the technology. Look at what technology can do for us. The speed with which we were able to collect these in one of the most brutal winters, the snowpocalypse winter that we faced. That was a crazy year. So we had 150 resident surveyors who were officially trained as surveyors to use the tablets to go and collect this information. We also had 75 Quicken volunteers from their own staff. They actually paid their own staff to come and volunteer on this project for several weeks as drivers and as surveyors as well. And the majority of them were Detroit residents as well. So we hired, I found myself, I had a crew at the time, I think maybe we had 9 people on staff at Data Driven Detroit. I was a new director, so that was fascinating to all of a sudden have to hire, train, and manage 150 and actually really 215 extra people. That was new for me. I learned a lot. And managing people who were not just safely sitting at computer desk, screens with typing away, but rather people who were fanning out across what a lot of people judge to be one of the most dangerous cities in the entire country. What we found is a community who was really hungry for engaging, and by putting residents out into their own neighborhoods and beyond, we were able to pick up on a lot more contextual information that we never thought we'd be able to learn and weren't capturing through that app on the tablets. So here's one of our banks of 200 Nexus 7 tablets, generously donated to this project and subsequently loaned out to community groups across the city to keep the data up to date. Our survey questions, very first step is take a photo, and then from there you answer whether it has a structure on it or not, and then we can capture very quickly and easily the questions about structures versus questions about lots, and then it has this beautiful skip logic built into it, so if a question isn't relevant, it'll automatically skip over that question. So it made the pace of data collection way faster. You might be able, yeah, you might imagine. It also, again, has this photo on it, so we have a photo of every single parcel in the city of Detroit now, and anytime anyone uses the free app that we left behind for this project, anytime anyone uses that, it records another photo, and you can see all of those in a time series on the website that we left behind, publicly available. So, we called it the Motor City Mapping Project. It was not my choice. It's really not my favorite title ever, but we've all agreed to call it that forever and always. At D3, we believe in inclusion, we believe in collaboration, we believe in excellence, and we believe in data-driven decision-making at the end of the day. This was the most collaborative project, I'm sure, that I've ever engaged on or probably ever will. Every day we had those residents and Quicken drivers coming back in from the field in staggered shifts to come in and actually feedback. We debriefed with small teams every single day for those 35 working days, and we learned from them and they learned from us. It was a beautiful process. We were able to, we went out and got really quick magnets for the cars because there were some neighborhoods that people were driving down where we have a tax foreclosure crisis in the city of Detroit where a lot of people are getting foreclosed on. People in suits show up and take photos of people's properties while they're living in them. So when they saw us coming up and taking a photo of the property, it kind of freaked people out. So we developed this literature to hand out. We had a phone number that you could call if you wanted to learn more. We also had these sort of official Motor City Mapping surveyor magnets on the cars. And all of this is because of the residents who were involved. We had a tandem survey going on using this app called Local Data, which I'll show you at the end. Our historic preservation group came to us the day we went out in the field, right? This app development's been going on for weeks. We've got all our questions lined up. It was that 50-person table who had decided what the questions were, along with our residents, which was great. And all of a sudden, this historic preservation group shows up, and they're like, but wait, we need to understand the significance of these properties, too, before someone starts knocking them all down. And I said, I can't change. We're literally in the field right now. I can't change the questions, but I can give you the ability to go and collect that data yourselves. So they did, and we integrated it into the final data set. So I'm not going to read all of this, but just for a flavor of the other data sets that we were able to bring together, I don't know how it is in Milwaukee, but in Detroit, if there's a house that you're like, oh, I don't know, I think someone might live here, but I'm not really sure, I can't quite tell. Snow makes it easier, I'll say that. And you can see some footprints and shoveling and all of that, but for the most part, homes in Detroit, just because it's in disrepair, we can't assume that it is an unoccupied structure. We were able to incorporate several other administrative data sets to create an index to tell us from multiple sources what the likelihood of vacancy was for every single property across the city, which was really helpful in kind of feeling more confident about the final numbers that we put together. So Data Driven Detroit staff were cleaning and assembling all of these databases at the same time as everyone was out in the field and were managing the deployment across the community. This is the resulting sort of parcel level map, which I know never shows up super well. You can find this online. There's a whole beautiful book resulting from this project. It's also available for free online.